Geotab can count a few big names as its clients, including the U.S. government, PepsiCo, and New York City. It recently broadened a contract with Sourcewell and Canoe. With more than $1 billion in revenue, this Oakville, Ontario company is one to watch. Here to talk about the vehicle tracking technology company is its CEO, Neil Cawse. Neil, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
It's a $1 billion company that not a lot of people know about. You've kind of flown under the radar and you've stayed private that entire time. Let's talk a little bit about that. 25 years now, and you stayed private. Why have you done it that way?
You know what, it was always one of these things to start a small little family business, keep it to 5 people, a little private company. And now we're 3,700 people. So, you can't, once the reins are out, you got to let them go. So, yeah, it wasn't intended that way, but very happy it worked out this way.
And you've been approached and people have asked you to get involved with it and you keep saying no.
No, I mean, it was, I did make a little bit of money in South Africa selling a software business. So I funded $500,000 was the peak that we put into Geotab. And it was kind of exciting to see kind of Geotab grow. But we never needed more than that. So fully bootstrapped and never had outside investors. I kind of wonder, because it's an A-B path, right? Maybe investors would allow Geotab to be much bigger than it was today. We'll never really know. Just happy with how it kind of turned out.
When you think about the footprint of telematics and having that back history, do you see value in what that brings to the autonomous vehicle conversation? Because a lot of the data that Tesla and Waymo have generated is very recent, but you have a backlog that I think is about as scarce as it comes. So I'd be curious, what's your perspective on just what you can bring to the conversation there?
Yeah. Look, I mean, I think telematics does many, many things. Obviously, in the world of no driver, what is the role of telematics for evaluating the driver and making sure that the driver is driving safe? Although we work with a lot of the autonomy companies today to do things like accident reconstruction and have an independent source of data. So obviously, these vehicles need maintenance as well. So being able to manage and do predictive maintenance on these vehicles is still a key thing. But you're absolutely right. Our knowledge and understanding, our data is our most prized assets. And being able to understand origin and destination and flow of goods, being able to understand what are the most dangerous intersections across the world, understanding the behaviors that lead to, accidents, understanding all of the maintenance and data, the impact of, for example, snow and rain on and speeds of driving, how that impacts, the accident rate. So, yeah, data is everything, really, in this new world, powered by AI, especially.
And how do you bring the AI, call it, or maybe AI is a bit more of a grandiose term, large language models, and call it next token prediction. How do you bring that into the business that you have today? Because you have the most critical asset that LLMs need. So how do you work through that?
You know what? Interesting. I mean, look, we're a private company, so we don't need to throw AI around to do anything with our valuations. But at the end of the day, we've been using AI for more than 10 years. And where AI comes in is, AI means different things. But for us, it's like the predictive models. So, for example, looking at your battery voltage, is this battery going to fail? Looking at driving styles to see who's likely to have an accident. So that's one kind of level of AI. And obviously with the advent of LLMs, where you can now, you can converse with your data, it really changes the game from our point of view. I always thought that Geotab was a company that was about producing insights for anybody who runs fleets, right? And fleets, let's just be honest, run the world. That's just what it is. And I've changed my mind. I actually think the AI is going to have the ball on that. It's going to be able to pull all of the data from all of the areas of your organization and do a better job than we could ever do by just having your telematics, logistics data. So I think our role has to transition to being one of collecting data. If data is fuel for AI, the amount of data and the quality of the data is really the most important thing. So that's what we're going to be focusing on.
And R&D is everything to you. Is that where that focus is right now? You spend $150 million US a year on it.
Correct.
Is it all leaning towards AI right now?
It is, and I'm going through the hardest time of my career, if I'm honest. This transition to AI is one of the hardest things that I've had to do, and I realize, as an organization on the forefront of tech, if we don't embrace AI and weave AI and turn ourselves into an AI-first company quickly, we're just going to be disintermediated. I mean, we're on a treadmill and we have to move fast. So it's the hardest thing to reshape an organization to be AI first. And, we're seeing, the engineers' times, the ability to produce output double. And Of course, it's with people. It's not AI on its own. It needs to be steered and managed. So I'm excited about the future, but it is a big, hard transition right now.
And how are you doing that with your people? How are you getting them to buy into that?
It is a constant, task of communication. It is goal setting. It is actually setting up, squads that actually go in and take areas of the business and redo them in an AI-centric way. But it's really, really hard because, if I have to be brutally honest, I think that, I'm going to try my best to make sure we don't lose any people. But I can't put my hand on my heart anymore and say, I don't think that we're going to be able to maintain all of the jobs and all of the roles. I think that certain things are going to be replaced. Like, I think maybe we'll have other jobs, but those particular jobs will be replaced. And that's hard. You can't ask the company to change themselves to work themselves out of a job. So, it's a human change control problem is the one that we're fighting to deal with.
But is that almost just an everyday thing, though, for a company? There always are changes coming?
There are, but the magnitude of this change, I mean, I've been through, the internet revolution and, the PC revolution and the mobile revolution and moving to SaaS and all these things. And I'll tell you, this is the most profound, the most difficult, the most impactful change that we're going to see in our career. So, I'm sure this is going to affect every single business, but tech is a little bit at the forefront. So we're going to see the pain first, and we're going to have to figure it out.
And just actually building on that point, what's your perspective on the concept of tech debt and having different systems? Because you've seen generation after generation, and I fully agree that this is going to be the next big thing and subsume other histories that we have seen. But how do you think of tech debt in the context of that?
You know what? It's so interesting. Because in the past, as an engineer, I've always been about get rid of that tech debt. Let's focus on the future and build a system that has a strong foundation. And the weirdest thing has happened because of this AI revolution. We can actually, it's almost a free pass that's given to the companies that did not invest in tech debt. Because for the first time, we can actually employ AI and we can almost reduce the gap for the companies that have been investing heavily in technology and the ones that haven't, which makes me feel good because Canada is behind in investing compared to our US, compatriots. So this AI boost actually can help us minimize that gap that we've seen in the past and kind of supercharge us because all of that work to go and eliminate that tech debt is now dropping. It's almost like deflation because today, if I go and do the work to eliminate the tech debt, if I wait a year, my price is now half, and I wait another year, it's half again. So that's what's kind of exciting.
Interesting.
And just going, you mentioned about Canada. What would you like to see this country do? I mean, we've brought in that champions for companies to try and spur on AI and quantum computing. Is there more the government could be doing? You're here. You've stayed in Canada. What would you like to see them doing?
Look, I think that the best thing that government can do, from my perspective, is keep the taxes low, make sure that there's an incentive to reinvest in the economy so the money goes back into investing in startups, into companies. I don't feel that government should play a huge part in trying to move the chips around. Every single time we set up a battery plant and we kind of go, oh, well, things have moved on, we don't do that anymore. So my opinion is let the entrepreneurs do what the entrepreneurs are good at. And I also think that, if given Geotab has been able to punch above our weight, I mean, we have the largest number of connected vehicles in the world, and we're very much a strong player in the US against all the US companies. I don't feel, certainly from my perspective, that there's ever been a limitation us being here in Canada. And I think we just need to encourage more entrepreneurs, more risk-taking. My biggest worry about Canada in general is what an amazing country, what a high level of education, what an incredible place to have your family. But we need more risk-taking. And I think that's would bring more entrepreneurs. And that's the thinking.
Okay, we have to wrap it up there. I'd love to talk some more, but Neil, thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was Neil Cawse, CEO of Geotab.